I don't sound like this guy. What are you talking about, Frit? You're deaf.
Well, you're going to need to watch the story to find out. No spoilers here today. But this partnership has given birth to some new type of adversaries for the Slayer to fight. Enemies like the Cosmic Baron, twin-bladed brute. He attacks with relentless pressure, and at range releases a flurry of psionic attacks that can block.
Frit, you really got to stop doing Duster, bro. Do I sound like that, Anus, or am I deaf?
Yeah, it's like if you remove the slight New York accent you get, yeah, I could hear it. I could see it's a very similar tone. You're very low today on stream too. You're very, because your tongue hurts. But
people like 80%. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yes. Yes. The chat agrees.
Oh, the chat.
He sounds a lot like
Frittata!
Hello, guys and gals. Frittata here. Oh, wait, that's not my name. Sorry. I have a bit of a fever. I'm a little delirious. Actually, that isn't even my intro. I think that's another YouTuber's intro. I forgot his name. I don't actually have intros. Anyways, reporting to you today. A bit under the weather, but that's okay. There's nothing a 40 ounce of Modelo can't cure. Well, Frit, you shouldn't be recording. Well, listen. After Dreamcast guy got that surgery to fix his teeth, nothing stopped him from hitting record anyway.
How do you like my new teeth, by the way? Hi. Okay, anyways. So, this came out while I was in surgery.
You think I'm gonna let a little flu stop me? Hell no. Which is why you should subscribe. We are getting closer and closer every day to 100K. Hell, we're getting closer to 80K. Once we get to 100K and I receive that silver play button from YouTube, I will face reveal myself, unpacking it for all of you. Don't let my dreams be memes, but then again, all you guys know how to do is meme on me, so. And send hot soup and 7-Up. Feeling like Okay, but not as Naughty Dog fans are feeling right now. Hey, that's a pretty good transition for it. I know. It's been a rough one for Naughty Dog fans. Finally coming to accept that Naughty Dog is not this grand studio they once thought they were, and that it turns out The Last of Us may actually be overrated, and your standards were just low in 2013. It sucks. I know. I get that feeling. It's like me thinking Skyrim was as great as it was, and then I play Oblivion, and I'm realizing I was wrong. Then the game got dethroned as the most awarded game in history by Elden Ring, a game that was much more deserving of it because it was actually a video game. And that got a lot of die-hard Naughty Dog fanboys to lose their collective minds. Because while in their hearts they may feel The Last of Us 2 truly is the greatest story ever told in video games, when you look at reality and how it stacks up against other games like, hell, Metal Gear Solid 3, you know it's complete bullshit. The Last of Us appeals to normies, okay? It appeals to people who are easily impressed by graphics and cinematics. And that's the thing about The Last of Us 2. It failed at delivering a compelling story. When the first season of The Last of Us was announced and aired, people were enthralled with it. They loved it almost as much as they loved the first game. But I, like many others, were warning people, just wait till season 2. When it gets to The Last of Us 2 storyline, just wait. Shit is about to get really cringe and really bad. And they said, no, just you wait. When The Last of Us season 2 comes out, people will truly and finally see how great that story is with no bias and no gamer incels. And what happened? It airs and everybody is laughing their asses off. Now, part of that is due to the fact that, Bella Ramsey looks like a potato with googly eyes glued on, so her facial expressions don't translate very well sometimes, and she makes certain scenes look like a complete joke, because imagine the last thing you see before you die is some chick with fetal alcohol syndrome pointing a gun at you, with the most unserious, unintimidating face you've ever seen. And I actually feel bad for Bella Ramsey, because she is a good actress. I've seen some of her other roles. She fits them well. But she did not have what it takes to be Ellie. She didn't look a goddamn thing like her, doesn't act like her, doesn't emote like her, isn't built like her. As a matter of fact, instead, the actress they chose for Abby, instead of looking like a giant man ghoul thing, looks more like Ellie in the video games. I have no idea what the director was thinking with these choices, but they were poorly made. There is no denying that. I mean, anybody out here who tries to actually legitimately defend Bella Ramsey as the choice is out of their minds. At that point, you are fanboying and you are just trying to defend this product. When you see Ellie on screen, you'll know it's Ellie. When you see Bella Ramsey on screen, you feel you can point to where Africa is on the globe of her head. Let's also not forget the fact that, in the first season, she's supposed to be a kid. In the second season, she looks exactly the same, and we're supposed to pretend she's an adult. We have a full-on sex scene of her finger blasting Dina, and that's not supposed to make us uncomfortable. At this point, The Last of Us title is referring to the fans left of this franchise. I mean, you guys are here for one thing and one thing alone, right? The infamous scene that's been making the rounds everywhere on the internet. The inclusion of extra dialogue that wasn't in the original scene in the game. And that is Dina's announcing of her pregnancy. Keep in mind, the TV show has things in it that Neil Druckmann wish he could have included in the game. So, when you watch the live-action version, you are seeing just how delusional and sick in the mind Neil Druckmann really is. But in order to really show you this, I'm going to have to use a comparison between the video game cutscene and the TV show cutscene, and your jaw is gonna drop.
I think I'm pregnant. What? Don't worry, it's not yours. What are we supposed to do now? Nothing. I just need to rest for a second. Are you fucking kidding? How long have you known? It was late a few weeks ago. A few weeks? We could have still turned back. Well, I didn't know. I wasn't sure, okay? I didn't want to be a burden. Well, you're a burden now, aren't you?
Okay, that's good. Here. 2 lines means pregnant. This thing's pretty old. And here. And here's a couple more. So, we're having a baby. I mean, we and also, I guess, Jesse or... It was Jesse, right? So we're all having a baby. Holy shit. I'm gonna be a dad.
Yo! Saying I'm gonna be a dad while the actual father of that child is still alive, that is wicked shit, man. Whoever wrote that line absolutely hates men. There's no other way about it. This is progressive writing at its pinnacle. And yes, I'm saying pinnacle because there is no such thing as good progressive writing. When it's at its best is at its worst because it's entertaining to us, but it's also a pimple on the ass of good storytelling. There's no way about it. They objectively made this scene worse than it was in the game. I still think the storyline of Dina getting knocked up by whatever that other character's name is that gets his head shot.
Jesse?
And then dumping him and having Ellie be the quote-unquote dad, that is some Gen Z writing if I've ever seen it. Remember, we're living during a day and age where people don't believe mothers and fathers and men and women should be things. So the end results is writing like this, where 2 lesbians will take the child of a man and raise it as their own and pretend it's all normal and okay. But at the very least, they were trying to convey it in a serious tone in the game. And the TV show counterpart, however, you can't tell if it's supposed to be a sitcom or serious drama. Like, the only thing missing is laughter from audience. Hell, I'll edit some in right now just to show you. What kind of fucking writing is this? What's this whole, so we're all having a baby, bitch? You didn't contribute to knocking that bitch up. That's not even your child. The way she doesn't even want to count the man in. Again, the people who wrote this hate men. They love our seed. They love that it reproduces, but they hate us. I mean, that's the implication that's given off with this type of cornball writing. How else are people supposed to take it? Oh, it's adorable. That's sweet. No, it's not. It's deranged. Not only that, but, she's with Ellie for what, about a year and a half, and she's already accepting and saying yes to raising another man's child? So they're gonna have an Asian baby, and the Asian baby's gonna wonder why its quote-unquote dad looks like Sloth from the Goonies. In the game, Ellie is actually more concerned because a pregnant lady's tagging along with her in the middle of a conflict, which is actually pretty reasonable. And she doesn't exactly seem all too excited about the pregnancy. In the TV show, she's already calling herself a dad and saying she's gonna raise the thing. And then Dina hands her pregnancy tests. It's like, come on. What were they thinking? But, you know, the creators were just so proud of this scene. I mean, they really thought this scene was excellent and was Oscar worthy. So much so, they posted it on Twitter on their official account, showing how proud they were of this scene. And everybody in the replies is trashing them. Even the most progressive folks you can think of are trashing this scene because it's ass. Because not only did you upset, you know, original The Last of Us fans, not only did you upset the anti-woke crew, you also upset the LGBT community, who apparently found this to be lesbophobic because Naughty Dog wouldn't address the two as moms, instead of addressing one as a mom and one as a dad. So they couldn't please anybody but Neil Druckmann, because you know this scene pleased Neil Druckmann. He went home and he fucking beat his meat to this shit. But it doesn't matter how much you point out the obvious. You still had a huge section of journalists getting upset that people were quote unquote disrespecting this writing, when in reality all we're doing is criticizing how horrendous it is. And now they're crying that the show's being review bombed by incels and bigots and every pejorative under the sun. The Last of Us Season 2 is now being review bombed because of course it is.
Oh my dear God. Are you one of those single tier people? Do I look like a double fucking rainbow to you?
What do they even mean by because of course it is? Don't you love how this game is the magnum opus to gaming journalists, but to the rest of the gaming community, it's overrated or downright trash? I love how the defense that these guys always come to is, oh, it was a joke. Ellie was making a joke. Okay, but why is she making a joke when the original scene was supposed to be serious in tone? That defense just doesn't work. They butchered the scene. Whether you want to accept it or not, this made the scene objectively worse. Over on Sister's site, Metacritic, Season 2 has earned a must-watch badge and universal acclaim with a current score of 81, with reviews from over 42 established critics. On the flip side, the user scores sank the show to a generally unfavorable status, with 542 user ratings and 61% of them voting a 0 or 1. The thing is, almost all of those reviews contain no actual critique and are still complaining about woke culture and asking, can we have just straight characters? There's nothing of nuance or value. All right, in all fairness to whoever wrote this article, I do think it's lazy and doesn't help anyone when all people commented, woke, 0 out of 10. Criticism must be precise, it must be accurate, and it must be convincing. Just saying woke is bad is not enough. I could break down everything wrong with this scene, hell, I already did. And I could say it all without saying woke, but, you know, admittedly, obviously, the whole thing is woke. But it's hilarious, though, how this journalist thinks just because the critics loved it, we must accept that that is the quality of the product. When we have been shown time and time again why critic reviews are completely meaningless. Universal acclaim doesn't mean jack shit. People can be paid off. People can be fanboys. People can be politically biased. And all those things factor into reviews. It really does baffle me how certain journalists expect us to stand up and clap just because we saw a lesbian scene or a gay scene. They really think that is worthy of praise. And the writers of this show know that. They know exactly what to put in their show to appeal to which journalists and which critics. It's no secret. HBO's The Last of Us review bombing surpasses the game's review bombing.
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
That's what I'm talking about. And it should be that way because the show's writing is objectively worse than the video game, as we've seen by that scene right there. It's hilarious watching Paul Tassi write this entire article, unable to grasp or understand why people just don't like season 2. So he spends all his time analyzing every bit and detail about the show that could quite possibly be the reason it's being hated on, and the conclusions are just hilarious. The first season of the show was praised for embodying the game well. Outside of a few critiques, and critics and fans essentially agree on its quality. A 96% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and an 87 audience score. Season 2? Well, something's changed. Yeah, I'll tell you what's changed. It's all based on The Last of Us Part 2, which is worse than The Last of Us 1. That's your explanation, but you're never gonna see it that way, unfortunately, are you, Paul? As it stands, Season 2 has a nearly matched 95% critic scores to Season 1, while the audience score has dropped a full 45% compared to Season 2, and is now down to 42%. This is ironically something that mirrors what happened with the game. Oh, gee, I wonder why. I wonder what it could be about Season 2 and The Last of Us Part 2. Could it be that people just didn't like the game? Contrasted with a 5.8 out of 10 user score. Now, the seeking of the show's second season has blown by even that low watermark. What's going on? Some complaints are different than the game. Some are the same. Some are just sort of confusing. Let's go through the different aspects of this. Not to necessarily say any are valid, but just reporting what's happening. Reporting what's happening with bias and salt. All right, Paul? You're salty. You're angry that everybody that told you once Season 2 comes out, they're gonna see how bad it is because it's based off the video game. And you guys said no. That was just angry gamers. And here we are, and it's not angry gamers. But don't you love it how if there's a bunch of negative reviews, it's review bombing, but if there's a bunch of blind positive reviews, it's praise. I can agree that perhaps Season 2 hasn't been as good or impactful as Season 1. Is it this absolutely giant drop in quality? No, it's not. And again, if you're a gamer, you've lived through something more or less identical to this in 2020. Substituting making fun of Ellie's appearance for Abby's appearance, among other things. There's not going to be anything to change these scores significantly now, but this was predictable enough, and here we are. See, there it is. The fact that you predicted this would happen means deep down inside, you know the majority of audiences are not gonna like it. You already confessed to us that by writing this in your article. You cannot come to accept that people just don't care or like The Last of Us 2's story. Never bet against the stick, man. I told everyone this would be the end result. The Last of Us 2's story is just that bad. It doesn't translate well into TV either. The fact you couldn't get HBO viewers on board with it is proof of that. It's overrated trash, hyped up by the gaming media and critics. But this time around, we have perfect examples to point to where the show is objectively worse than the game. And the critics have nothing to say. The journalists don't have a way of countering that. They just want you to blindly love it and stop pointing out things like Ellie calling herself a dad being a cringe dialogue. They don't want you to view these things as cringe. They just want you to go along with it. And I'm sorry, but you know, it's just not how people work. And yet, once again, Daddy Frit is vindicated. And we'll celebrate, but we'll only celebrate when I get to 100K. You know, I'll tell you what, I get to 100K and I will mow a lawn and record it. God damn. How low have I sunk? I'm now using my ethnicity to gain clout. It's just embarrassing. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you so choose to. That being said, we'll see you in the next video.
Fritongo sucks ass.